Greetings out there in YouTube land. This is Morris Man. As always, I thank you guys for coming to my channel. I'm going to post this video, and at this specific time as I'm posting it or taping it, I'm not quite sure what title I want to put on it, but by the time you're watching this, there'll be an appropriate title. Now, what triggered me to do this video is this. Well, let me just say this first. You know, before my father passed away, we had a pretty good relationship. And I was quite fortunate because I could go to my mother or my daddy and talk to them about everything. Finances, sex. I could talk to my mom about sex, my dad. They gave me straightforward answers because they say, well, you're going to be doing it one day, son. So at least if you're going to be doing it, you're going to be doing it with some knowledge that you need to prevent things that could, you know, come back to bite you for a lifetime. You know, so I'm pretty fortunate because nobody in my family, I came from a family of 10. Nobody in my family brought babies to my mama's house without them having a ring on their finger and somebody else's last name. Or, you know, her sons coming in, married, wife at home or in tow, and you got your baby up in here. That's fine, but my mother didn't play that, you know. She said, don't bring no babies up in there. And we didn't, you know. So what triggered me to do this video again is, well, let me say this. I was quite appalled by what I seen on the news today. You know, as we know that some segments of law enforcement are out of control. You know, they're killing people for minor traffic violations. It escalates to murder at the end of the confrontation or the interaction, not confrontation, but interaction. It's like, what's going on here? You got people that just came out of a building of shooting people, and they, you know, get taken in without any incident. You know, it's like, so why are we the ones that getting killed? You know, because I've seen this today. Because you think that you say to yourself, well, okay, the young black men and young men of color got to be careful. You don't think about the older women, you know. And I seen today police body cam. This woman had to be about 65 years old, black woman. She was on her way actually to a funeral, and they showed the body cam of them. And I'm gonna say this before I'm gonna tell you why she got stopped. By the time they pulled over, they grabbed her by the hair, slung her on the ground, wrestled with her, handcuffed her. She told them that she was in excruciating pain because she had a shoulder injury and they was aggravating it. Now, and she's crying because she's like, why did I get pulled over? You know, what's going on here? And why she got pulled over was she was 10 miles over the speed limit. 10 miles over the speed limit. Now, of course, if you're breaking the rules of the roads, yeah, you know, you should be pulled over and dealt with appropriately, given a ticket, and be sent on your way. But instead, she got slammed to the ground, handcuffed, humiliated. Now, that tells me that no people of color is safe. Whether you're a young black man and they think you're a thug because you got your little hair and just this new fat fashion, you know, the braids and the little jiggly stuff on the top, whatever you want to call it, your pants kind of sagging, you know. Now, that's not a dress code that I would approve of, but, you know, that's just my opinion. And if I had a son, actually, the age that I have of a daughter, he wouldn't be dressing with his pants sagging. He wouldn't be having wild flying hair thing, you know. Because I'll sit down and talk to him. I'm like, I know you want to take part of what the majority of your peers is doing, but trust me, go to a straight and narrow on the dress code. You know, you'll be one of the first ones to get hired. You want to be one of the last people to get fired, you know, because you don't kind of fall into that category. And I'm not saying that that dress code is bad. It's just that, unfortunately, some things come attached with negative attachments, even though it's not negative itself. You know, so I'm like, you know what? It's not all that important for me to have my pants sagging and my ass out if every time I go outside everybody's looking at me like I'm crazy, and the cops want to follow me. And it's like, okay, I'll give this dress code up because it ain't worth all that. It's not. But I remember the conversations that my father and I had about police brutality back in the 60s and down south, because my dad came from Alabama, Pritchard. And he said this. He said, what we started to do as black people to help offset all of this police brutality that's unnecessary. And before I say this, I'm going to say this. We live in a free country, and we have freedom of speech and freedom of expression, and provided it's not breaking any laws, you're entitled to say certain things. You're entitled to dress a certain way, but my father said, that's fine and dandy, but what we want to do is stay alive. We don't want to be a memory in our child's mind after we left here in our 30s or 40s at the hands of the police. It's not worth it. So they start to do proactive things. And this is not the solution to the problem. The solution is a lot of bills that has to be passed and laws to offset. Just because you have a badge and a gun, you feel that you can lay on somebody's neck till they die while you're being taped. It's okay to do this while you're being taped. It's not. So my dad said that they used to, be proactive. Things like this. Instead of just one black dude in the car driving through unfamiliar neighborhood, have a couple of them with you. Bring your buddies with you. Don't go alone. That was one thing that, my father and the people doing his era, really kind of looked this like, don't go by yourself. Now, what I'm about to say is a little bit extreme, but they used to do that. When they get pulled over by the police, they would strip butt naked, raise their hands up in the air. So if you got shot, they had to justify why did they shoot an unarmed naked dude, Now, I don't condone that extreme. It's like, well, that's a little bit extreme, because then they say, well, you decent exposure. But things like that kind of kept them safe. Now, I'm not going to say 100% because you can have your everything on your car up to speed, your stickers, your headlights and all your lights working, brake lights working and all that, and not speed. And you can still be pulled over, and your life can be put at risk at the hands of racist, overzealous police officers. So again, there's no one way of saying safe 100%, but just take precaution, because they say she was speeding, and maybe she was. So it's like, especially when you're going through neighborhoods that's not familiar to you, slow down. Be mindful of your speed. Because they got to have a reason to pull you over in the first place. Now, sometimes they don't, but they try to come up with a reason. But, if you got everything right, you're not speeding, you got your belt on, your stickers are on, or not expired, your headlights and all that work, most likely they're going to leave you alone. Because they're going to have a hard reason trying to justify why they pull you over in the first place. So it's little things like that that can help keep you safe. Because, again, you shouldn't have to do all that. But in this era right now, you do, until they start to pass some laws, because they're way behind as far as certain laws that will keep pedestrians safe and also keep police officers safe, But I was just floored when I seen that, because I'm like, well, I know they're not going to be bothering old folks and old women. Yeah, because she was 10 miles over the speed limit. She didn't just come back from robbing a bank or committing a terrorist act or just harm somebody. She was on her way actually to a funeral, and maybe she was running a little behind, and she was trying to, make it up with the little slight increase in speed, which is, again, it's unfortunate. And if you are breaking the law, you should be given a citation, but you shouldn't be killed. You shouldn't be physically harmed. You shouldn't have a gun drawn on you because you were speeding. And it's like, because I'm still trying to figure out when did the police were allowed to start shooting people in the back? Because that was something that my father talked about. They couldn't shoot you in the back even if you was running. unless you was running with a gun or ran from the scene of the crime. But now you got guys that are falling asleep in the Wendy's parking lot. They have a 30-minute conversation with the police officers instead of them just driving him home. So do you want us to take you home? We know that you're a little bit intoxicated and you can't drive today. So take your keys with you and we'll drop you off so you can get some sleep. Instead of 30 minutes in conversation trying to figure out a way how we're going to cuff this guy and arrest him, which technically, they never did place him under arrest. They just tried to put handcuffs on him. They did not announce that they was arresting this guy. He freaked out. He's scared. He's seen TV in the news recently how innocent people like himself are caught in a situation exactly like this one, and some of them don't make it out. So he's like, I'm just trying to save myself. I'm not trying to cause anybody any harm or threat. I'm trying to protect myself. And you have every right to do that, regardless of who's chasing you or telling you to stop, you know? And again, it's always, in most cases, it's always this scenario. White cops, black dude. You know, it's like, what's with this pattern? You know, usually when it's like this, and I hate to talk about this, but I'm like, we got to talk about this because in order to move forward and advance, we got to talk. Instead of everybody quiet. Everybody got their own opinions on things and nobody's doing anything. We're just kind of looking around and not talking. And the more that we talk, the more we understand each other. I believe. You know, maybe I'm wrong. I'm not sure. But I just want to post this video. You know, black people, be careful out there. If you got to take another person with you to go somewhere, take them. Make sure that you're not speeding. Make sure that your plates and your sticker and your window is up the current. Now I know because of the pandemic, it's kind of difficult, and in some cases it's actually impossible. Because my neighbor, he's been taking the bus lately because he said, I went to go renew my license or get my license because he said how his license got yanked was he had racist cops all on him. He wasn't speeding. They claim he ran a stop sign, which was ridiculous because he said, I noticed those guys followed me for 2 blocks, so why would I run the stop sign? You know, if anything, I'm going to be even slower. So in order to get his license, he has to go pay that ticket. And when he went to the DMV, they told him, you got an outstanding ticket. So he tried to go pay it in this other county, and due to the pandemic, they were shut down. So he's like, well, how am I going to? Then he said he'll try to go online. The town's so old or cheap, poor and small, they don't even have a computer system to pay online. So he's like, so what I'm supposed to do? I want to pay it. I can't go there because they're closed. I can't pay online. So what, you know? And he's like, there's some days I need to drive, you know, for convenience and also for security and safety. Because I looked up last night, I seen him coming home 11:15. Coming from getting off the bus apparently and walk. And where I live is pretty dark. You know, we got like 1 street light or 2 per block. You know, I miss living in the big city where the whole block at night was lit up. You know, and one day I plan on returning to that because I'm like, I'm tired of all this darkness. You know, I look in my yard and I don't mind this little raccoons running around trying to eat them and possums. I'm like, that's not a big deal, you know, but out here in pitch black. But it's just unfortunate that right now, due to the pandemic, there are things you can't do. I mean, I wish they would suspend all of this for at least 90 days. I mean, what I mean by suspension is you can't get your plate or you can't get your license. And we understand why you can't. It's not that you just avoiding trying to not pay. You can't, you know, so it's like, let's suspend this for 90 days until we all get vaccinated, because I got my first vaccination. I go back next week for the second one. And then we see the numbers drop. And then we slowly start to open up these facilities again so you can get what you need. You know, it just makes sense. Instead of we still out here monitoring, hounding you. And it's like, well, I can't get it. And in some cases, it's just really not safe for me not to be driving, you know? But I hope, and I don't know if I'm going to see this before I leave here, that there be enough laws in place for law enforcement just to do their job. And that means just writing people tickets, send them on their way. And still, these people are scared, so they don't want to stop like that military guy. And he explained to them why he didn't want to get out. He said, I'm afraid to get out. And the guy told him, police officer who's no longer a police officer, they fired him within a couple of hours. You should be scared. That sounds like escalation to me instead of diffusing. You know? Put yourself in these people's places. They're afraid. They haven't committed any major loss, just some minor traffic incidents. You know? And should they be killed or nailed on them so hard that they passing out? These people ain't got guns. They're not trying to fight the police. They're trying to comply. You know, the most, and they're all heartbreaking, but the most heartbreaking one to me was, I believe it was Eric Wright. That's his name. No, I forgot his last name. It's not Wright. That's Eazy-E's name. Eric, I forgot, but forgive me, in New York City, he was selling loose cigarettes. Somebody called the police on him. The police came out, and this is on tape also. He surrendered, put his hands up, and then one of the cops jumped on his neck, started strangling the man, strangled him to death, and he got off. He didn't just rob the store. He didn't have a fight with anybody. He didn't threaten anybody. He was trying to make the best living that he could. Whether he was right or wrong, he didn't deserve to die. And I think about all of these, and I'm like, damn, am I dreaming? Is this a real bad nightmare and I'm going to wake up? Eric Gardner, that's what his name was. And I'm like, I hope I wake up, because I hope this is a dream, you know? And, you know, before my father passed, because, you know, we talked a lot, and he talked about the 50s and the 60s. And I asked him, I said, do you see things better than they were? He said no, and they most likely going to get worse first before they get better. So I'm hoping that the conviction of the Minneapolis police officer that killed George Floyd is the turning point that we start doing the right thing. You know, I hope that. Because again, that just broke my heart. Because I look at that, and I'm like, that could be my mother. That could be my oldest sister. That the police are manhandling for absolutely no reason, because she was speeding. 10 miles. Not 60, 70, 80 miles an hour, shooting past like a rocket or a comet in the night. 10 miles. 10 miles. But just be careful out there. Again, young people of color, make sure that when you're driving that you're not speeding. You know, you're not over the limit, speed limit. All your stickers are up to par. Work on that if you haven't gotten it, because my motto when I was younger was, I don't want to give nobody no reason to be pulling me over. None. All my plates are right. And I'm going to share this story, then I'm going to leave. It's when I was quite young, and I was working. My first job was working in one of the largest retail grocery store chain in the world. I was there about 13 years. I loved it. You know, I hated to leave. When I went to corporate America, I stayed and kept that other job for a year. Even though I didn't need it financially, I'm like, I just don't want to let go to the past, because I enjoyed that past. And I don't know what my future here is going to hold. So I was in between paychecks, and my sticker expired. And this is what I initially was going to do, but the way that I was raised, I was like, I can't do this. I said, I'm going to go over into the motel parking lot where these guys in there getting busy. And I'm going to drive around the lot, and I'm going to take a sticker, take it off the car. I drove around, said, this shit ain't me. I'm not a thief. So I went home, parked my car, and left it there for about a week and a half till I got paid and bought a sticker. I didn't want to run the risk of them pulling me over, because my sticker was expired, you know. And I didn't want to, do anything criminal, because like I said, that just wasn't me. I wasn't raised that way, to be stealing shit and taking shit. So I was like, no, that's not me. It's not the move, And I took the bus, because I was working day shift of, during that time. So I took the bus until I got my sticker because I'm like, again, I don't want no reason for them to be pulling me over. I want to be one step ahead of them as far as, I got this, I got this, I got this. Now, sorry for being long-winded, but I'm gonna give you one more story because this is interesting. When I lived in Chicago many years ago, and like I told you guys, I don't play that riding around expired stuff, So it was coming close for me to buy my sticker, which of course I did. And I think it was like a week before my sticker on the car was expired, and I was gonna put the new one on because I usually get my sticker about 2 weeks probably before it expires. So then I'll wait till like the day before expire and put the sticker on. So I come home one day, and this had to be like a week out before my sticker was expired. I got a fucking ticket on my car. And I read the ticket. Your sticker expired. My fucking sticker ain't expired. It's going to expire next week, and I got the sticker right here in the glove box. So I went to the police department. First I called them, and then I went down there. I got to run around. Why was I given this? Why was I given this? And they really couldn't answer the question. And I figured this out, and I found out. They drive around. Well, I know they drive around, do this in our neighborhood. They drive around and look at your stickers. And then when they see when it's about to expire, and what they were banking on was I was going to be sloppy and late with putting it on there or buying it. I'm like, no. So they assumed that I was not going to have it in time. And about, I'll say a week out, these fuckers wrote me a ticket. Wrote me a ticket. I'm like, so that's what they do. This is what they do. They hope that you're going to generate some revenue for them. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to generate no revenue for you guys doing not doing what I'm supposed to do. So that was kind of a learning experience. And then let me just give you this story too, because they all tie in. I'll never be able to use this story in any other contents. So I noticed this too. I was written a ticket for supposedly running a red light, which I didn't. By the time I got into the intersection, it was yellow. By the time I got out, it was red. So, and then after this incident, I slowed down on doing that. I'm like, I'm not trying to beat any lights. I got a feeling it's going to be changing, so I'm going to slow down. I don't care about the guy in front of me. You should run it. No, I'm not. So it was a bogus ticket because I'm like, I didn't run the red light. When I entered into the intersection, and the rules of the road tell me that I can proceed with caution, Going through a yellow, I can proceed with caution. So I go down there, had to take a day off from work, as you got to do. And I noticed something that just fucked me up. I went in there, and 97%, if not more, number black people. Nothing but black people. It's like 2 white dudes. So that let me know right there who they patrol neighborhood more. And for bad reasons. Not, let's just drive through here and make sure everybody's safe up in here and they see us and feel safe because they see us and we driving around. They're just trying to milk you, Again, revenue-wise. I'm like, okay. So from that point on, it made me even more, I guess, diligent on making sure I give them no reason to be fucking with me. License, stickers, lights, tail lights, everything working. Everything working. So be careful out there. Really be careful out there. They're harming us. And they have really no reason to be harming us, especially to the extent to death for minor traffic violations. That's it. But let me just say this again. Sorry for sound like broken record. Be careful out there. Make sure you're aware of your surroundings, especially when you're not in your neighborhood and you're in another neighborhood, quote unquote. Slow down. Be careful of, how you proceed. Don't give anybody a reason to bother you. And if you can, take somebody with you. You know, because the majority of the time, if you got at least one other person, they're not going to try to kill you. You know, they're not going to do what they do when you're by yourself. Make sure all your paperwork in your car is up to speed. Make sure your stickers and your headlights again, the tail lights. And again, sorry for sounding like a broken record for keep saying this, but those little things could actually save your life now. Instead of just being put through the trouble of being pulled over and getting written a ticket, it can literally save your life now because it's gotten that bad. And somebody, and sorry for keep going on and just keep thinking about these things, but somebody asked a ex-law enforcement or retired law enforcement officer just yesterday on the Rachel Maddox show. Well, no, it's the Joy show, Joy Reid, the Readout. And she asked him, do you see this increasing in numbers or just decreasing in numbers or increasing? And he said, it's probably at a standstill because of reason why we are aware of more of this because of the cameras, the technology. And I said to myself, I would probably tend to disagree because I'm like, I don't recall, and I watched the news religiously 20 years ago when I was at home. Me and my mom used to watch the news. And I don't recall on a regular basis, especially within the same week, police killing people. Us, you know. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't recall seeing all that. And my wife said, well, maybe they just didn't report it back then. I'm like, yeah, they would report something like that because that's the juicy story for the news people. You know, but I'm like, you know, in my opinion, it's getting worse. You know, all the cameras are doing is just capturing it, but it's there. You know, it's there. And it's there and it's abundance. But again, I'm going to say I'm not sorry for being long-winded, but I just had to tape this because I had to get this off my chest. I felt really bad when I seen what I seen today because that should have never happened. You know, no kind of respect. You know, let's try to defuse and still escalate a situation that doesn't need to be escalated. 10 miles over the speed limit. Here you go, ma'am. Have a good day. See you in court. That's it. Still grab her by her head, slam on the ground, put cuffs on her, injure her already injured sore shoulder. You know, the woman posed a threat to nobody. But until next time, take care and thanks for watching.